You're listening to Arcane Frequencies, a paranormal podcast where we look into the science of the unknown and try and delve into the nooks and crannies of the unexplained.
Today we're talking about mirrors and scrying. I'm also very interested recently about mirrors, mirrors and portals, but could you get attached to a mirror as well? Mirrors and windows actually as well. I'm adding windows into that. I've just watched a haunted hospital and a ghost appeared in a window, which we quite often see.
Quite often hear reports of when there's windows and doors that people are seeing things outside the door. So maybe you should put doors in that too.
Yeah. So mirrors, windows, doors. We should make a podcast on that.
Yeah, I call them the places between, because they're neither one room nor the other. Is there something to that? That and staircases. Yes. There's so many reports of things standing at doors, things through staircases, or going through doors. Here's a weird theory. It's a weird theory day. Could it be that people spend a lot more time in the rooms themselves, and then they're exuding their personality on that room, and that kind of pushes away anything else that could be there. But you spend virtually no time on stairs and no time on doorways, because you're just going between the two things. So you have these areas of whatever building it is, which are rarely inhabited because they're just passed through. So could those be quiet places or places where whatever's been recorded doesn't get erased, potentially?
Possibly, yeah. It's very true. I mean, I've had a number of experiences on stairways.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I mean, maybe there is a number of answers to that, is that it could be somewhere where spirits feel comfortable because it's, like you say, not many people linger there. Is it because people go up and down and it causes a lot of energy?
Yeah, maybe. Fits into why kind of a lot of attics and cellars also have a lot more activity than the living room.
Well, I heard a theory that cellars and attics are generally, spirits go there because that's where less people are. So if they don't want to interact with people, then that's where they go, And let's face it, if you haven't moved on to wherever we're supposed to go to, and you don't want to interact with the people that are there, you're going to be that type of person that wants to stay away from people, aren't you? You're not going to want to interact. So you would. You'd navigate up to the attic or to the basement.
And people always want their own space, somewhere to call their area, and they can't really call their area somewhere which other people are constantly. If there's someone with a bedroom, for example, then if you were picking somewhere to stay, then you probably wouldn't stay in the bedroom with them. You'd want to find some place which was quiet, and then that could be your area.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of black scrying mirrors at all?
I have, yes. And actually, that is something that I wanted to talk about. So I have heard of the black scrying mirrors.
Scrying? Yeah.
I don't know much about them, but I have heard about them. Part of my theory was, if a mirror is a portal, could you effectively take a mirror with you? And this tags on to the theory you were saying about the equipment being charged. We take all the equipment with us to haunted locations. Yeah. Could you effectively charge up a mirror and have a mobile portal? That could be something that we could physically test.
Yeah.
What does a black scrying mirror do? Do you know?
Yeah, so it's just the same thing as a scrying mirror. So you would just stand in front of it and stare into it and try and make some sort of contact to, I'm not sure if it's in the mirror or just in the general area, and that just gives you a focus and maybe gives someone else a focus as well. The reason why they do the black ones, and it's basically, I've seen some recently which are totally wrong, and they've basically just put this black paint on the front of the mirror. So you've got a frame and it's like a chalkboard where it's meant to be behind the mirror, so it's actually still reflective. But when you look into it, it's nowhere near as reflective as an actual mirror. So you only get to see kind of stuff that's sort of close to you because you're just seeing reflective paint and the reflection on the glass itself. I think there's a lot of connotations and beliefs about them beyond that practicality, that you're not going to be able to see in it as well as a normal mirror. So especially if you're doing it in a dark area, then frankly there's more chance you're going to get tricked by your eyes and the fact that you're standing in the dark looking at something that's very slightly reflective.
Yeah.
But yeah, The dogma behind it is that they are easier to scry with. That could be because they're not ideal reflecting implements, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some people light their scrying mirrors in different ways as well, because they feel like that kind of accentuates any changes they see in their face, because they see the shadows move, etc. And that kind of proves it a little bit more, because then you're seeing something physical, which is the light, being affected by that change in your face. So you can actually then prove that there was some change in your face in those cases.
I've had an experience where I've inadvertently done scrying when I was about 8 years old. But I didn't realise that I was doing it. I did have my face change, and that was a very strange experience for me. And I don't particularly want to repeat it because it was a little bit unnerving.
Yeah,
but,
a lot of people, when you go investigating, do not like going anywhere near a mirror while we're there.
No, I want to try the idea of perhaps maybe a mobile portal, but you would need to protect it in a certain way. And it goes right back to what we were saying at the beginning of the session, is that if you open that up as a portal, would it be the same way as a Ouija board? And you've got to make sure that you close it down. How would you close it down? Is it with intention? Where do you store it afterwards? Because essentially, if you're opening up a portal, you could be inviting anybody in. And again, you have to be careful with that. But I suppose you treat it the same way as you would a Ouija board, because a Ouija board, you're opening yourselves up to inviting anybody in. So you set it with the same intentions. I've seen quite a few programs and people having experiences with mirrors. So, but again, yes, on an event, you'd have to be careful explaining to the people, that making sure that you're not offending anyone, or everybody's okay for it to be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and be wary of those psychological factors that people have with mirrors, and also when they're in a dark building looking for ghosts. So you'd have to be careful with who you're doing that with, in case they got negatively affected by it. Yeah. One of the only times I've seen someone really leave the building and not want to come in was an investigation in Markham Castle, which we were talking about recently, and that's when there was a scrying session. There was a couple of ladies who just absolutely were not comfortable while they were doing it, and then they left. They didn't want to come back in again.
Wow. Again, with scrying, I've only ever done it once when I was 8, and didn't really even realise I was doing it. So we don't really tend to do it as a group, do we?
No,
very often. And whether that's because just sort of it's just not something that we do, or whether people have different views on it, I don't know. But yeah, I do think you have to be careful on it, because you are essentially opening yourself up to whoever or whatever is in a mirror, or what can come through. So you do have to be careful with it.
I think that's probably because it's not really a group activity, generally speaking. You just have one person who's just focusing, and then if you've got like another 4 or 5 people around you, and also if you've got lots of beeping equipment, then it's very hard to spend your time focusing. So it's more you do it with 1-2 people, really, just in a quiet place, just to spend some time focusing and adjusting to it. So that's probably why it doesn't fit in on normal investigations, which are generally a little bit more hectic.
yeah I mean, it's more group orientated, isn't it? And we're looking for hard evidence. That I'm not saying that scrying isn't hard evidence, because I think there must be some experience.
You could say and record it, and I think there's certainly a way to evidence it if you wanted to set up the experiment.
What I was thinking with the mirror and the portal sort of side of it is, and I think I've seen it on other programs, is that you have the mirror, but you can have like a motion sensor attached to it, so that if not motion sensor, what's it called? I'll come back to you on that point. But you can have EMF detectors attached to it as well. Geophones.
Okay, like a vibration sensor.
Yeah, so that it detects like a slight sort of movement. You can attach EMF to it, so that if any EMF is generated, you can have that.
You could definitely record.
Try magnetism attached to it as well.
You could definitely set up an experiment like that to be able to do it scientifically and get some evidence from it. Yeah, you convinced me to have a go with it. Sounds like we should do this.
Yeah, I think there's a real sort of scope to sort of being able to measure it scientifically. I'm not even saying that we should do it with scrying. You could do it with scrying, but I think you could do it without scrying. Because some of the evidence that I've seen, I mean, they mapped a particular group. I probably shouldn't mention them, but a group mapped on the SLS a figure sort of kind of stepping out of the mirror.
Wow.
That, in my eyes, was incredible evidence, and something that you can really measure. Yeah. So there you go. I think we've set ourselves a task, haven't we?
Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. Yeah. Time is valuable. And I appreciate you spending a little with us. So, good on you. You made a great decision today.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can reach us on contact@arcanefrequencies.co.uk.
Or on Facebook, you can find us just by searching for Arcane Frequencies.